Hi, I'm Josh from Victory Camera. Today we're going to talk about twin lens cameras, a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I love these cameras. I particularly love the Rolleis. My first medium format was actually Yashica because I couldn't afford a Rollei, but then I upgraded to a Rollei, not unlike this one. The twin lens cameras, I think the first thing to look at is the design and why they are the way they are. They have two lenses. You take a picture through the bottom lens and you see through the top lens. And at the time, this was a big improvement in convenience from the rangefinders and view cameras because you could actually get a pretty good idea of what you were taking a picture of. The SLR technology hadn't developed then, so this was what they had. You see through the top lens, you take a picture through the bottom lens. These are both the same length lenses, and the front standard of the camera moves so they both focus the same. So the taking lens is projecting directly onto the film, which is right about here. And then the viewing lens reflects off of a mirror that is down here in the camera, and it projects onto the ground glass here. So when you're in focus here, you're in focus here. Now the lenses are separated by about 1.5 inches. So the picture that you see is going to be a little bit higher than the picture you're taking. That's called parallax. It's about 1.5 inches. In practice, I find this is not a big issue, but it is something to be aware of if you're precisely framing your picture up close, that you want to shoot a little bit lower than you are seeing through the camera. I like twin lenses for a couple of reasons. They give you a lot of quality for the money. They tend to be less expensive than comparable SLRs or rangefinder cameras, and they're just awesome cameras. They look like nothing else. You go out, people see you're taking a picture with a twin lens, and the camera kind of does the work for you when you want to take pictures of people, because people look at this thing and they say, wow, that's so awesome, what is that? And they relax. So you can let the camera do the work and you can get awesome portraits from people. Compare that to a SLR camera, which is like a gun pointed in somebody's face and tends to come between you and your subject. This finder is called the waist level finder, but really it's more of a chest level finder. And the way I use it is to hold it against my chest, compose my picture, and then if I'm taking a portrait, I look forward and the camera draws the subject in and I can have rapport, and it leads to a more relaxed portrait than you would get with another kind of camera. All of these twin lenses that I have here are 2¼ cameras. That's 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters square format. The square format is great for environmental portraiture because you can be relatively tight on the person but then get the background all around them without seeming too loose. I want to talk a little bit about the different models. This here is a Rollei, which is the king of the twin lenses. They invented the format. I love these things. They are like jewelry. In terms of quality, they're the equal of Leica or Hasselblad for less money. And they're just gorgeous. They're beautifully machined, they're beautifully finished, look great around your neck. It's just a wonderful camera to own. You may never own a vintage Porsche, vintage Ferrari, you may never own a Rolex, but you can own one of these. So I love that. But it's not the only one. There's also the Rollei Core. There's some confusion about these. This is the lower line of the Rolleiflex. They take the same pictures, they have the same quality of lenses, but they have fewer features. These are also all f3.5, and the Rolleiflexes are 2.8 and 3.5. The lenses can be a little confusing because there are Zeiss lenses and there are Schneider lenses, and some people say some are better than the others. It's kind of debatable. The Zeiss lenses generally cost more, but I don't think the Schneider lenses are fine lenses. They're both fine. My personal camera is a Schneider 2.8 and I love it. The 2.8s generally sell for more and they're generally considered more desirable. This is a 3.5 and I might consider looking at a 3.5 if you're looking at one of these. They're significantly less expensive, the accessories are less expensive, and the camera is noticeably smaller and lighter. The image quality of the 3.5 lenses is at least as good as the 2.8, so if you don't need the extra half stop, I would consider the 3.5. Another line I would look at is the Mamiyas. These are kind of interesting cameras, and they're pretty different. They're significantly bigger than the Rolleiflexes, but they have some nice advantages. They focus a lot closer. I don't know the close focus on this, but it's like a foot or two versus 3 feet on this. The big advantage of these is that you can change lenses. And it's the only major system that you can change lenses on. You've got a lock here for a dark slide, and then you do this carefully because you can spring and scratch your lens. And then the lens comes off and you put on another lens. Sorry about the chair squeaking. This is a 65, we've got a 135 here. They go from 55 to 250. All the lenses are excellent, and wham bam, you have a new camera. Here's the 135. And this is really nice for portraits. This is a really nice, good portrait setup. Camera we have here is the C220, which is one of my favorites. I don't know if you can see it from here, but it's got this really cool M pattern on it, and it's just a really cool looking camera, and it's very useful. One weird thing about this is you cock the lens separately from advancing the film, and I recommend to people that they always do it the same way. They advance and then cock, because that way you don't forget, oh, did I advance the film or not? These also take these prisms, and I love the waist level finder, but the prism, if I can get it on, the prism does have its use. Now you have a pretty good portrait rig, and if you go with the handle that this Mamiya Flex has, this is awesome. This looks like the Adams Family camera, just in terms of the appearance. This is one of my favorites, the old Mamiya Flex. So you put the handle on it, put a prism on it, and you've got a really nice portrait rig for not a ton of money. And then you compare that to a Hasselblad, which is going to be significantly more for the same, well, maybe not the same level of quality, but significantly more than for the same level of quality as the Rolleiflex. You can save a lot of money. You get something really cool with the Mamiya. Then the other major camera we've got is the Yashica. This was actually, not this particular one, but this model, the Yashica Mat 124G, was my first medium format camera. Bought it from PC Brokers in Boulder. The salesman told me it had a sharper lens than the Hasselblad. I said, okay, you don't have to go with the Lily. I can't afford the Hasselblad anyway. But I think he was actually right. I have taken some amazing pictures with the Yashica mats. They are really sharp. It's a nice camera. The 124G is kind of selling for a premium now, but any of the Yashica mats are excellent cameras. Image quality is something maybe we should talk about a little bit. They're different between the different cameras, and when you're going shopping, that might be something to consider. The Yashicas, and not quite to the same degree, the Mamiyas, have very punchy lenses. They're sharp in the center, they're very contrasty, they're very punchy. The Rolleis have more of what I would call a German look. And this is speaking very broadly, but I think generally there's a German look and there's a Japanese look to lenses. The Japanese are more about center sharpness and contrast. The Germans are less about contrast, more about resolution. And it's interesting, when you look at your pictures from a Rolleiflex or a Hasselblad, they don't look as sharp. But then you look closely, they have more detail. And they give kind of this nice glowy look. And what I think it is high resolution and low edge sharpness. It's kind of the opposite of sliding up the unsharp mask in Photoshop, where you're dialing up the edge contrast. But it's definitely worth considering. I really like the look from the Rolleis, but they don't look as sharp as the Japanese cameras do. We talked about why these are great cameras. Now I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't buy one. No medium format is perfect, and the twin lenses are maybe more imperfect than others. They have a lot of limitations. I think the limitations can be a strength because it forces you to work around the camera, and when you limit yourself, you can be more creative. But you should be aware of the limitations. Big one is, except for the Mamiya, the lenses don't come off. Yashica or Rolleiflex, you're stuck with a normal lens. If you don't like a normal lens, too bad, you're out of luck. The film backs don't come off. You can't change film mid-roll. The square format is not for everything. They're great for portraits. They are not so great for landscapes. You can use them, but most people think of landscapes being a horizontal panorama. The big one in my mind for most of these cameras, not so much the Mamiya, is they don't focus very close. This goes to about 3 feet, 1 meter. The Yashicas are about 1 meter. There are adapters you can get. You can get Rolleiflex, which are little lenses that go on here that focus closer. You still got the parallax. It's not going to be great for headshots. Even if you do have the Rolleiflex with a short lens, if you try to do a headshot, you're going to end up with some perspective distortion, and that's not flattering to most people. So those are the pros and the cons of the twin lens cameras. I love these cameras. I think the liabilities are definitely worth putting up with because they're beautiful, they are more economical than other cameras, and they give you a lot of what you want out of a film camera. We have a lot of these cameras in stock at a lot of different price ranges. Check out victorycamera.com or come by our store. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.